Hello, you're welcome back to my channel. So basically I'll be teaching you how I made that flare gathered dress for a little girl. She's about 6 years. So this is the items you need, and you need the extra hard net for the bow. So let's go right into the drafting. So her shoulder is 11.5 and I'm going to make it 12, and I'm going to take the neck depth 3 by 3. So I'm going to join it with the curve. And now go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. And then for the armhole, for her age, I use 5.5 5.5 5.5. So I'm now going to take the bust. Her bust is 26 divided by 2 is going to be 6.5. And then I'm going to add 2 inches extra for sewing allowance. So I mark this the first, and then add the 2 inches sewing allowance, and then I'm going to connect it and find the midpoint of the armhole, and then I'm going to go in by 0.5 inches and I'm going to connect it. I'm using a free hand, so it's not going to be so straight, but you can use your curve rule here and then smoothing it up. Now I'm taking the length of my top. Her shoulder to waist is 13 inches. Her shoulder to nipple is 7.5. 7. I'm going to make 7.5. So her shoulder to waist is 13. I'm going to make it 14 for sewing. I'm adding 1 inch for sewing allowance, and now I'm going to connect it. Her nipple to nipple is 6. So I'm going to make it 6.5, so that when I sew around it, I'm still going to maintain my 6 inches. And then I'll also find the midpoint of the armhole and then connect it. I'm connecting it to the midpoint of the armhole. It's going to be like a princess dart, but I'm also finding the nipple to nipple at the waistline, and then I'm going to connect it. Then I'm going to take the dart. I'll only be taking at the waist, and so that's 3/4 of an inch for both sides, so the whole dart is going to be 1.5. For she doesn't have breasts, so there was no need to cut to create a dart at the breast side. I just want to get the curve of the princess dart. I'm going to mark that one out, and then I'm going to measure the waist. The bust. So for the bust, like I did already, and I added 2 extra inches, and then the waist to her waist is 25, which is equal to 6.25. And then I'm going to add the dart I took out, and then still add 2 inches allowance, and I'm going to after adding the two, I added the dart out, the dart I took out, and I'm going to connect it I'm connecting it, and then I think basically my top will be ready. So I'm still taking the measurement, and so I'm going to use the front to construct the back. So here I left out the space of about I left a space of 2 inches for the zip line, and then I traced out exactly what I have for the front, except for the depth, because it's going to be a little low cut, kind of a v-neck. And so I'm going to be staging where I have my dots. Later I'll transfer it to my main fabric. So I'm tracing everything. It's very easy. Christmas is coming. You can learn to do this for your child at home. So I measured the neck depth of about 8 inches, and then I connected it to the top. I wanted it to come a little low so that we could see the v-neck at the back. So that's just about 8 inches. I'm sloping it now. And then I'll try and get the nipple to nipple, and then try and get the dot. I'll still take the 3/4 of an inch. So making the whole, here I rather took half of an inch on both sides. So the whole dot is about 1 inch. Only 1 inch. Marking it out. For the back, I didn't cut it out. I'll sew it on the main fabric. Now let's cut the waist. It's a goddess dress, but because we want the goddess to look fuller, we are cutting it in a flare. So this is about 2 yards of fabric, and I'm folding it like how we normally cut our flare. So I'm going to cut it such that I'll get a very big part. So here my radius was 22 inches. I used 22 inches. And then the length of my flare was about 23 inches. So here I cut it out. Ignore the first line. So I cut the length to be 23 inches. And then I'll go ahead and straighten it up, and then I'll try to cut. So here I'm cutting it. Remember, I want to get the biggest part of the fabric so that I can gather it up and then get the effect I want. You can use a normal straight fabric, but I prefer the flare so that when I gather, I'm going to get a fuller version of it, and it's going to look very nice. Here I went ahead and I cut my lining piece, and I interfaced the neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and then attach it to the main fabric, and then I'll take it to the sewing machine and then neatly sew out the neckline. Here I went and then I sewed the neckline and then the armpits, and it looks and I pressed it out, so it looked very neat. I went ahead and I took the back dart and I'm measuring it to get the correct measurement. Here I went ahead and I stitched the flare into a goddess with a running goddess stitch, and then I pulled the goddess out and I went ahead to join the two fabrics together. So I had to make sure that it was the measurement was the same. Here waist is 25, so I made it about 26, 20, so that I can get space for the zipper. allowance. Here I'd gone to join it. I'm going to show you after joining it from, and you can see that's the waistline. I joined it with the main fabric. Yeah, so that's the inside of it. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and then work on the zip line and then fix a zipper at the end. The back, this is it. The zipper is fixed. Now I have to work on my bow. So for my bow, I took a fabric and then I measured. This is 8.5 by 13. 8.5 by, the wideness is 8.5 and the length is 13. It's going to be on fold. But remember, for us to get that bulky effect on the bow, we have to use the hard knot. So I'll go ahead and cut the exact measurement of my fabric for the bow on the hard knot. You can use stiff, but I realized that when I did it with the bow, it made it a little bulkier at the back and it looked nicer. So that's how come I decided to use the hard knot. I'm going to finish the sides of them, yes, and then I'll leave a small space where I can pass it through out, and then later I'll get a sewing needle or I'll just use a machine to finish the end off so that I'll look very neat. And then I'm going to sew a very small fabric, then use it to hold the middle of my bow, and my bow is ready. It's just a small strip. You just get a small strip of you can see how foamy it looks, so you can imagine it's going to look. So the small strip, I sewed it, that's about an inch folded into two, and then I'm going to secure it at the middle. And my bow, you see how lively the bow looks. You can do this and then you see the effect I'm talking about. I'm going to finish it off and then my bow will look very nice like this. So here I'm almost done. I'll fix my bow, and so I hand stitch it on one side, and you see, because of the zip you have to use the breasted, so you have to fix it on one side such that when you open the zip you can wear the dress for the child. Now it's ready. You see how neatly it looks. I'm going to show you the breasted. So you move it, open the zip and wear the thing for the child, and then you can put it back and it looks very lovely. It looks very lovely. Subscribe if you find this video helpful and give me feedback on how it goes with your trial. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I hope you really find this helpful during this period.